There's this one phrase I see everywhere online, and I am so sick of it.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
It's in every comment section, every movie review. You get this deep analysis of something, and someone just popped up with, it's not that deep.
Ah, yes. The Great Shutdown. It always reminds me of that, that high school English class cliche.
The blue curtains.
The blue curtains, the teacher's explaining how they represent this deep, suffocating melancholy, and you're in the back of the room thinking,
Maybe the curtains are just blue. And look, sometimes they really are just blue. I get it. But it feels like that phrase has, like, metastasized.
it's become a shield.
Exactly. It's not just a pushback against overanalysis anymore. It's a shutdown button for any kind of complex thought.
And that's precisely why we have to talk about this. Because what looks like just another, dismissive internet comment is actually, I think, a symptom of a much larger cognitive crisis.
Cognitive crisis.
The real question isn't about the curtains. It's, are we just protecting ourselves from being pretentious? Or are we actually watching the slow death of critical thinking itself?
The death of thinking. I mean, that's a pretty big claim. It sounds like one of those books I'd buy and then get too distracted by my phone to ever actually read.
And that distraction is part of the murder weapon. But look, before we get to the doom and gloom and the data on our attention spans is, trust me, pretty gloomy. We need to set the stage. We need to figure out what we're actually losing.
Right. Because critical thinking is one of those buzzwords, isn't it? It gets thrown around so much it kind of loses all meaning.
It does, but at its core, it's really about reflective and independent thinking. It's your ability to rationally decide what to believe. You used the key word before we even started. It's a system.
It's a system, not just a feeling. I remember this from philosophy class. The syllogism.
Exactly. Goes all the way back to Aristotle. The syllogism. It's the engine of logic.
Major premise, minor premise, conclusion. It always felt a little, I don't know, robotic to me.
Well, it is rigid, but that's the whole point. It's a stress test for an argument. So let's use a modern example, not the, all men are mortal thing.
Okay, please. Okay, so major premise. A successful business model must generate a profit. Makes sense.
Ride-sharing company X has not generated a profit in over a decade.
Also a fact.
Therefore, ride-sharing company X is not a successful business.
See, and that's where it gets interesting. Because logically, that's airtight. A plus B equals C. But if you'd said that 5 years ago, people would say you didn't get it. They'd say, no, success is growth. It's market share.
And that is the absolute beauty of critical thinking. The syllogism worked perfectly. It forced the real argument out into the open. The debate isn't about the conclusion. It's about the major premise. We're actually arguing about the definition of success.
So the tool isn't just for getting the right answer. It's for making sure you're asking the right question in the first place.
You're questioning the question. That's the Socratic element. You have to pop the hood and check the engine, not just drive a car.
But that feels like the exact opposite of what happens now. I mean, you go online and people aren't debating premises. They're screaming conclusions at each other. There's no why behind it.
And that brings us right to the cognitive crisis. It's not that we've all suddenly gotten dumber. It's that the environment we live in now is fundamentally hostile to the kind of slow, careful thinking a syllogism demands.
The environmental assault on our attention spans.
Yes. I mean, we have data on this. In 2012, the average time a person would focus on one single piece of content on a screen was about 75 seconds.
Minute and 15, which honestly already sounds kind of low to me.
It does, doesn't it? Well, by 2020, that number dropped to roughly 47 seconds.
47 seconds.
47 seconds.
That is terrifying. I mean, I feel it in my own body. If a YouTube video takes more than 5 seconds to get to the point, my thumb is already moving. But you can't build an argument in 47 seconds.
You can't. It's impossible. Deep thought requires sustained focus. If your brain is being reset every 47 seconds, you're not thinking. You're reacting.
And we're also just offloading it, right? I don't remember phone numbers. I barely know how to get to my friend's house without a GPS.
Cognitive offloading. And look, it's not new.
Yeah.
Writing is a form of cognitive offloading. But the scale is completely different.
Okay, but take the GPS. I rely on it 100%. But does it really matter? I mean, it's just more efficient.
It is, but it comes at a cost. Your hippocampus, that's the part of your brain for memory and navigation. It's like a muscle. And studies are showing that when we over-rely on GPS, that muscle gets weaker. We stop building mental maps.
So my brain is getting a little bit mushier in exchange for a convenient commute.
Maybe. But what happens when we apply that same principle to our actual thinking?
Right.
And that's where the whole AI debate comes in.
I was just going to ask, because you hear the argument, right? ChatGPT is just a new calculator. We all stop doing long division, and society is fine. So what's the difference?
I have to push back on that analogy. I really do. It's a false equivalence and a dangerous one. A calculator offloads arithmetic, a rote task. You still have to figure out what equation to use and why.
Okay. Whereas AI,
AI offloads the synthesis. It offloads the struggle. If you ask an AI to summarize a book and give you the main themes, you're not just saving time, you're skipping the wrestling match. That's where learning happens, the struggle. When your brain has to connect two different ideas and it's hard, that's when you're building a new neural pathway. If the AI does the wrestling for you, you get the answer, but you don't get the strength.
That's a great way to put it. It's like watching workout videos online and expecting to get fit. You know the moves, maybe, but you can't actually lift the weight.
Exactly. We become passive vessels. We're just consuming the final product of intelligence without ever participating in the process.
And that creates the perfect breeding ground for it's not that deep.
It's the ultimate defense mechanism. I don't have the cognitive energy for this, so I'm going to decide it isn't worth my energy.
Right. But you said there's a twist, that sometimes things aren't that deep, but analyzing them is still useful.
Yes. This is where it gets nuanced. There are basically three ways to look at interpretation. First, there's simple authorial intent.
Did the author mean to do it?
Right. Did Steinbeck intend for The Grapes of Wrath to be a critique of capitalism? Yes, absolutely. If you say it's not that deep, you are just factually wrong.
Okay, check.
Then you have constructive interpretation.
This is where we don't really care what the author meant. We care if the idea is useful to us. There's this amazing philosopher, Byung-Chul Han, who uses a tiny story by Kafka about Prometheus.
The guy with the rock and the eagle and the liver.
The very same. But in Kafka's version, everyone gets bored. The gods, the eagle, even the wound. And Han uses this to explain modern burnout. He says we are Prometheus, and we are chaining ourselves to the rock of achievement. We're the eagle eating our own liver.
Wow. Okay. Kafka definitely wasn't thinking about corporate burnout.
Not a chance. But does Han's reading help us understand our world? Immensely. It's a fruitful interpretation. And the third way
is just the wrestling match itself. This is where you engage in divergent thinking. The goal isn't to get the right answer. That's convergent thinking. The goal is to just play, to explore, to ask what if.
And saying it's not that deep just kills that. It shuts down the whole game before it can even start.
It puts a lock on the playground. We are obsessed with converging on the right answer, the TLDR. But all the magic, the creativity, the innovation, it happens in that mess and divergence space.
So how do we fight back? How do we reclaim that? I don't want to have a 37-second brain, but I also can't spend my whole day analyzing poetry. What's the toolkit?
The first step is just to consciously add friction back into your life. But for a more structured approach, there are frameworks. One of my favorites is called SCAMPER.
I think I've heard of this. It's an acronym, right?
It is. Substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to another use, eliminate, and reverse. Let's just try one. Let's take R, reverse.
Yeah.
Give me a common problem.
Okay, easy. I check my phone too much when I'm supposed to be working.
Perfect. The convergent solution is try harder to not check your phone. Now let's reverse it. What's the reverse of that?
My phone needs to check me less. No, I need to check my phone more.
Go with that. What would that look like? What if you scheduled a 10-minute phone binge every hour where you had to look at it and then you put it away? You're reversing the dynamic from an impulse to a task.
Or reverse the environment. Instead of me leaving the phone leaves the room.
Exactly. Or eliminate. What if you eliminated the notifications that pull you in? You're not looking for the one simple fix. You're playing with the structure of the problem itself.
You're breaking out of the usual thought pattern. And that leads to the simplest tool of all. The 5 W's and an H: who, what, where, when, why, and how. Sounds like journalism 101. It is. But in our current world, it's a radical act of self-defense. When you see a viral post, just pause. Just for 5 seconds. Ask, who made this? And why am I seeing it now? The why now is always the big one, isn't it?
It's huge. And that little pause, that tiny injection of friction where you ask a question instead of just consuming the feed, that is the birth of a critical thought. That's you taking your brain back.
It all comes down to friction. We've built a whole world designed to be seamless. And we're realizing that thinking is, well, it's supposed to have seams. It's supposed to be a little jagged.
If we lose that jaggedness, we lose more than just personal intelligence. We risk losing what's called consensus reality.
Okay, what's up?
It's the shared ground we all stand on. Science, democracy, our legal system, they all depend on us having a shared process for figuring out what's true. If we lose our ability to think critically, we all just retreat into our own little echo chambers. You have your facts, I have my facts, and there's no bridge between us.
And then we're just screaming conclusions from opposite sides of a canyon.
Exactly. And a society can't survive that for long. So this isn't just an academic exercise. It's about the fundamental trust that holds everything together.
Wow. Okay, that feels like the real stakes here. We're not just trying to get better grades in English class. We're trying to keep the lights on for civilization.
It feels that way sometimes. And I want to leave you with one final thought, a provocation that really, really stuck with me.
Let's hear it.
We spend all this time worrying about AI becoming sentient, right? The singularity, the Skynet scenario where the computers start to think like humans.
Sure.
But maybe the real danger isn't that computers will start to think like us. The real danger is that we, out of a desire for convenience and efficiency, will start to think like them.
Wow.
We just process data, we don't understand meaning, we follow instructions, we don't question the premise. We become simple input-output machines.
We become the bots.
We become the bots.
Honestly, that's going to stick with me. In a good way. It makes me want to go find something complicated to wrestle with.
Go find some blue curtains.
I just might. Thank you so much for this, and thank you everyone for joining our deep dive.
Stay curious.
We'll see you next time.